see this little circle through the hole there. If you don't see that, then it means that it hasn't been rotated far enough to lock into place. And you do have to make sure to open this up, rinse it off, take out the basket, refill the basket with an electrolyte for the DO probes so that they work. But as long as you do that, that should be fine. And I think supposedly you can get away with not doing that for several runs, and it should work. But we always do it every run, just to be on the safe side. Okay. So now that that's connected, you would normally have all of your vessels hooked up here, and they would be completely ready to go, sterile. Everything would be fully operational. So normally you would turn on your agitation here. This MX, that's your mixing for your gas. This would be set to whatever value you want. For a lot of the runs I do, it'll be like 12. So if you turn that on, you'll get gas flow out of these tubes.
12, is that 12 liters?
That's 12 liters per hour. Yep.
Okay.
So if I turn that on, you can hear the airflow through there.
What is that in BBM?
Well, we normally do it by the working volume. So whatever your starting working volume is, which we normally use 600 mils for a large number of different projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, I believe that's 2
BBM?
I think so.
Okay.
So anyway, you can do that, and if I can find the right tubes.
Yeah, so it's basically 60 divided by 12,000.
Yeah.
So that would be 200.
Yeah, 200. Yeah. Right. So you can turn that on. Normally you'd turn that on. You'd turn on your agitation, which we'll hear the little motors rotating in just a minute.
12,000 divided by 60.
And we set this to whatever we want. Normally we set it to 400. I won't, since it's not hooked up to anything. And we'll also set our temperature to whatever we want the temperature values to be. So basically you'll do that, you'll set it to the conditions you want, and you will let it run overnight. And you can, before the conditions have had time to really stabilize, you can hit calibrate slope ahead of time, just to get it to 100. And that way, when you come back in the morning, you can see how much it's changed and see if it's changed in ways that make sense. If you come back in the morning and you see that it's been a nice flat line until a certain time and then it suddenly plummeted, then you'll know that your vessel got contaminated.
Okay.
If you see that your vessels have had if one of your vessels has had the DO go way up and one of them has gone way down, then you know that you've accidentally swapped your temperature probes between them. And one of them has gotten very, very hot and the other one has gotten much, much cooler.
So it did the 0 and 100 already when you hit calibrate slope.
Yeah.
So why would you ever do calibrate offset?
So calibrate offset is if you want to enter your own zero value.
Okay.
If you want to enter a zero value other than just 0 oxygen, if you want your 0 to be at 20% oxygen or something like that, then you could use calibrate offset to do that.
Okay.
So that's the main use I can think of for it. There may be other reasons why you would need to do that, but that's the main one I can think of for any purposes I would use.
So now we're assuming that everything's all calibrated.
Yeah.
So
we will go ahead and we'll stop this.
Okay.
And you can also check your DO lines here. You can also check your temperature and all of the.
What is I?
Actually, not entirely sure what I is.
Okay.
I forget what that one was.
All right.
So now we will go into control. Control is your actual fermentation. This is going to be your actual run. So this will be where you get your data. This will be where you control the actual parameters of the run. If you set up everything correctly, during that initial setup phase, it should mostly, manage itself. But if there are parameters you'll need to change over time, like according to OD or that sort of thing, you'll need to change them on this screen. So now we're on control. All right. So this is where you start your run. You can make all of your additions before you start doing things on here. I normally start pH, DO, temperature, gassing, agitation all right away. Which I'll actually turn that off so it doesn't waste oxygen. But I leave the feeding off, and I usually come through and I will add acid and base until I get the pH just right. I also add the feed. I basically add everything until all the lines are primed. Your tubing starts out empty, and it'll take a while to get enough liquid in the tubes to fill them up. So you have to prime all of those, and then once you've done that, they should be good to go.
So you prime them into like an empty container and then hook them up?
You can prime them into the vessel. Since the tubes are empty, they won't actually be adding anything to the vessel. You just have to make sure to watch them and make sure that you don't let them run long enough that they drop anything in.
Right, but you just turn them on once you've got them primed.
Yeah, once they're primed, you can turn them on. And in order to prime them, what you do is you go over to this pump module here, and if you press on both sides here, then you put it in a state where it's under manual control. That green and red flashing.
Press both of the arrows or the
Yes.
triangles.
So
Okay.
if you've got your tubing in there, then if you hold this to the right, it'll spin to the right. Once it beeps, it'll stay spinning to the right.
Okay.
You can also do the same in the reverse direction.
And that empties it.
You can,
But you wouldn't really do that.
yeah, if you have your tube hooked up in the wrong direction for some reason, or if there's any reason why you would need to, you can do that.
Got it. Okay.
So, anyway, so normally you have all of these turned on. You can check, make sure everything gets the right parameters, make all of your additions, get the media just how you want to, get your acid and base added to get to the right pH. And then once you've added acid, base, and feed to get all the lines primed, to get the pH right, all of that, you want to go to the individual vessels. On this side here, you have your control screen that shows everything. And then you have the individual vessels. This shows you in more detail what the individual vessels have going on them. So when you go here and you check on this screen, you see that this has a volume amount that was added. So we didn't actually add this volume, that was just for priming the vessel. So you want to change that to 0, you want to hit set volume. And so that actually has your volume at 0 because you're just at the start, so it should be off. Alright, so everything looks pretty good. So now you're going to want to inoculate. So you bring up your inoculum.
And you didn't turn the pumps on though, did you?
Nope, pumps are not on yet.
All right.
So everything has been done manually. So now you'll want to inoculate. You will bring up your inoculum, you'll go to the vessels, and you will inject in your inoculum. And when you do that, you're going to want to start your inoculum timer so that you can know that this is that this is counting up from when you've inoculated the vessels.
Right.
And once you've done that, you're going to want to start your pumps. If you do that, just go to here. And now your pumps will actually be controlling the volume added. So, and you can see them running right there. So, all right, and so that basically has you running on the control scheme. And since the inoculation timer has been started, anything that is a timed event, so like temperature changes, that will already be counting down. So you will already have your temperature on here, on this profile, it's already counting towards the time when the temperature needs to shift. So the graph should show that too.
And then when did the pumps turn on? I missed that.
The pumps turn on right when you inoculate.
Okay.
You can.
They are automatically turned on.
You just click them to turn
Oh, you
them
click
across.
them. Okay.
Yeah, so
I missed. I'll probably see it when I rewatch
Yeah.
this video.
Yeah,
Okay.
you click the inoculation timer up here and you click the pumps here.
Okay.
You want to do this for this screen, the control screen that has all of the vessels. That way they all get started. You can do it for an individual vessel. You can start one vessel now and start another vessel later. If you do it on the individual vessel screens, you can you do that whenever you want.
Okay.
If, say, one vessel has too much feed being added and you want to stop it, you can turn that particular feed pump off, and the overall feed pumps are on, but that individual one is off.
Got it.
You can do that with any individual part. If you want to say turn off the DO control on this vessel, but leave the rest of them on, you can do that too.
Okay.
And then when you're done with everything, when the run is over, you can hit stop. And stop will finish the run and it will save all of your information from it. So that will actually export all of your information, and it will go ahead to the cleaning screen.
And so there's bottles hooked up there.
Yeah.
Where,
So normally the cleaning it's done basically to clean your tubing. You've got acid, base, and feed in your respective tubes, and you're going to want to get those clean before you disconnect them. So normally If you do a harvest, then you're going to have your vessels disconnected, and you're going to want to connect a flask or something that you can clean into. So I will often use flasks that have needles attached to them through a foam stopper that you
Okay.
can clean into. And the ends of the tubing will just connect to those,
Okay.
so that you can basically have it run liquid into those flasks. If you aren't doing a harvest, you could clean directly into the vessel if you want. But the main thing is you're going to want to use bottles of DI water or whatever other cleaning solution you're using, but typically you want to use DI water just to make sure that it's something autoclavable and safe at the end. And you are going to want to swap all of your rigs that you've been using for your acid basin feed into the water, and then you're going to want to start here, and it will run water through those pumps, through the tubing, and into whatever waste vessel. And you can do it manually, just, like I was demonstrating before, you can just hit both of those two buttons and then manually control it to pump water through. That's totally viable, and it actually pumps the water quicker that way because it pumps at maximum speed. But this way, it's on a timer, and you don't have to worry about overflowing your waste vessel. You can walk away, clean your vessels while you're waiting on it, and do whatever else you need to do. And so it saves you a fair amount of time and concern. And if you realize that you forgot to swap one of the acid or base bottles or something with a water bottle, and you realize that you need to stop it from running, or you don't want to stop the cleaning cycle, you can just hit break, and it will end that. And then you can go and start again. Likewise, if you cleaned it once, but you're not sure it's completely clean, once it's actually finished running, it won't let you hit start again until you hit break. So you can just hit break, and then you can put in another cleaning solution and hit break and hit start again. So anyway, I think these are basically good to go. So I'll go ahead and stop here, and that's going to finish the cleaning procedure.